How good is Christchurch? So booming good that it is time to admit that it is our best city by far.
Christchurch, you've come a long way.
This may be the world's unluckiest city.
It was terrifying. I thought I was going to die.
The February quake came seemingly out of nowhere on a warm Tuesday afternoon. It plunged the entire city and its unsuspecting residents into a state of fear and confusion as aftershocks came in quick succession and the damage and the devastating death toll slowly sank in.
In 40 seconds, it significantly changed 350,000 people's lives.
Well, the government has rejected any more funding options for the Christchurch Cathedral Reinstatement Trust. So what does it mean? Well, it's highly likely the entire project will now be mothballed.
It was a massacre that changed a country.
This is and will be one of New Zealand's darkest days.
51 people were killed and many more injured after a terrorist opened fire inside 2 Christchurch mosques as worshippers met for Friday prayers.
It was the epicentre of our COVID outbreak, where over half of the country's deaths took place. Rosewood Rest Home in Christchurch was thrust into chaos and horror as the virus took 12 precious lives.
Firefighters are tonight battling a huge blaze on Christchurch's Port Hills, with 15 fire trucks and almost a dozen helicopters working to contain the fire.
It's forced the evacuation of some Westmoreland residents with eerie similarities to the 2017 Port Hills fire that claimed the life of a helicopter pilot 7 years ago today.
It is bad, and as far as we can tell, it still seems to be growing. It is a scorching hot day here in Christchurch, and the ground here is also scorched and very dry after a long, hot and dry summer.
The fire burnt for 3 weeks through approximately 650 hectares and destroyed a residential structure and various infrastructure, including damage to the Christchurch Adventure Park.
With COVID, mosque shootings, 2 Port Hills fires and the earthquake, we've been to hell and back as far as needing to be resilient.
And the bounce back is well and truly on the way, with a host of brand new civic facilities completed or nearly finished, a thriving riverfront hospo strip, and Kiwibank economist Jared Kerr saying,
Christchurch is a real standout. Now the city is just so cool. It's fun to walk around. I imagine it's fun to live there. You don't have the traffic that Auckland's got. You don't have the burst pipes that Wellington has got.
I'm Alexia Russell, and today on The Detail, Christchurch, the emerging star. It's been termed the capital of cool.
It feels like there's a lot of people collaborating. There's a lot of people working in these venues that then form bands together or do projects together, or like there's artists, musicians, and they're working together in different ways, and it feels very vibrant.
I think it's a really exciting city. The early stage gentrification of rent still being cheap, you can still get a lot of space. I know people who are moving here.
At Christchurch's Riverside Market, locals say the city is buzzing.
Right up by the bars, we've got all sorts of events and stuff happening. Every weekend's got farmers markets. It's just really beautiful. There's always something happening, always something on.
I think after the earthquakes, the glumness of it kind of took over for a bit, and now we're at a completely different point that we were.
Even cynical North Island-born broadcaster Paddy Gower has been converted.
The place has what our other cities don't right now, absolutely positive vibes.
As in the rest of the country, however, it's still tough on the hospitality front. And later in the podcast, I'll speak to restaurateur Anton Matthews about holding on through the hard times. But first, Phil Major is the newly re-elected mayor, storming home with a 20,000 vote majority in spite of a fairly hefty 6.6% rate rise this year and a step up in borrowing. In a post-election interview, he said Christchurch is on an upwards trajectory, shooting out of the doldrums like a rocket, and everyone's on board with it.
It is the capital of cool, and on even the Herald said that it was one of the best places in New Zealand that people wanted to come and visit. But the upside of it all is we've got students tripping over themselves to come to University of Canterbury, 26,000 this year, and by the end of the decade it's going to be up to 30,000, which is going to cause us some grief on where on earth we put them. We've got people moving down from Wellington and Auckland at a reasonable rate of knots. So it's good, and there's businesses moving here. I opened one up the other day. It was Turner's Auctions. Now, they have moved out of where they are, and they've spent $38 million building 3 new buildings around the city. And I said, man, that's a lot of money to invest. And they said, we're selling more stuff here in Christchurch than we are in the rest of the country. So it's good.
What's the attraction? Because Christchurch has not escaped the downturn that the rest of the country is seeing, has it? I mean, hospitality is still looking a bit bleak, foot traffic, consumer spending, that kind of thing.
I suppose pretty good. There's a real spring in people's step. Well, the other thing that's happening that our old, if you know Christchurch, our old Noah's Hotel, people have bought that. They're spending $150 million, turning it to a 6-star hotel. We've got Bioaura, who's coming into Christchurch and throwing $17 million at cancer research. So there's a lot of businesses coming. But the thing that's going to really boost it up is the stadium. Even people who were sort of naysay a bit are seeing the spring in people's step when you walk around past it and you go, wow, this is going to be outstanding. So that's going to get the lift.
Te Kaha, the country's new, most exciting inner-city stadium, will be built here by April next year. The $683 million project will be a multi-use arena, so finally Cantabs can see the All Blacks, the Black Caps and all the concerts in their hometown.
While I'm on it, the Parakiori Metro Sports is the hidden gem as far as I'm concerned, because it's got 11 pools, 5 hydro slides.
It will be New Zealand's largest sporting and aquatic facility. The budget here is yet to be confirmed, but the council alone has put in $147 million, and the Crown's coughed up too.
It's got 200 staff working around there, and it's going to bring people into the city on a regular basis all the time, whereas the stadium's going to be great, don't get me wrong, but that'll be sort of one-hit wonders, one after the other. But all of these cogs in the wheel are making one hell of a difference.
And I mean, I remember going down just after the earthquakes and seeing the terrible state of Jade. It just made you want to cry. And it's been a long time coming, hasn't it, the replacement?
Oh, yeah, no, it absolutely was. It's sort of held in limbo for a few years because maybe the council at the time wasn't that focused on that, but it's up and running now. But you've got to remember that the government of the day gave us the land for the new stadium for nothing. The next government of the day gave us $300 million towards it. We spent some on other things, but we got $220 million of that. So the governments of the day have helped us out a lot.
But wait, there's more.
We've got New Zealand Fashion Week signed up for 3 years. That's coming, and it's coming in November to Show Week. We've got Ed Sheeran coming next year. Unfortunately, he will be in the old stadium, not the new one. We've got supercars coming the week before, and that's signed up for 3 years. We've got straight after that, we've got a super round of rugby, which is the very first thing in the new stadium, and that's at Anzac weekend next year. So there's a lot of people will now start coming and using all these facilities, and it'll all spill out to hospo and accommodation and all sorts of things. There's more to be done. One thing we have got, Mainland Rail have said they want to do event trains from Dunedin up to Christchurch, and we're going to build a platform right in the middle of town so people can be dropped off for big events.
Plus, the Court Theatre has just opened, a major museum rebuild is underway, and a new idea has been floated for an overhead cable car that would connect the university with the city in just an 8-minute trip. Phil hopes that could encourage students into living in the city centre because while Christchurch is relatively affordable, it needs more housing.
We've got land that we're redeveloping. We've also done work with the government and got our intensification, they call it PC14, which took a long time to get across the line, but I'm very pleased to say that it has. And we intensify in areas in town. One of the goals that we did have after the earthquake was to get 20,000 people in the 4 avenues. We've only got to just on 10 or 11,000 if we're lucky. We want to continue to get more people into town. There's plenty of buildings going up now where people can live in the middle of the city. Not everyone wants to. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Some of them move out to the suburbs where they've got a bit of grass and stuff like that. But generally, we're catering for everyone.
Still, Christchurch ratepayers pay 25 cents in debt servicing for every dollar of rates. Phil wants to halve that to free up funds. At the time of the earthquake, the Christchurch Council unusually, had a strong asset base and virtually no debt, something that helped it immensely when it came to the rebuild.
After the earthquake, Jerry Brownlee said, right, we're going to have a 100-day plan, and everyone put some effort into it. And we said, right, we're going to have a hospitality precinct there. We're going to have a performing arts precinct there. We're going to have the sports precinct there and all that sort of stuff. And I wasn't in council then. It was very easy to throw borax at the council. This will never work. Well, I'm very pleased to say that I was wrong. And I go to things at the convention centre, which is another thing that the government paid for, which incidentally throws $50 million by itself into the Christchurch economy. And I say to people, right, just wander down here, do that. And they said, we cannot believe that the new terrace has got so many fantastic eateries in there, and you go down to the end of it and you've got Riverside Market in there. It's laneways, it's everything that people want to see. And you've got the river going through, you've got the tram going past. It is absolutely wonderful.
And you've still got the Margaret Mahey Playground, which is a few years old now, but, still valued.
Which was, once again, that was all paid for by the government. And people, I think people forget how much the government did help us during those dark days.
It's 14 years since Christchurch's big earthquake, but this city is now known as the country's most livable.
Anton Matthews is an entrepreneur, cultural leader and the director of the Hustler Group, which includes Joe's Garage, the airport's Fush Bar and Tato Tato Catering. But while the South Island might be pulling ahead in the economic recovery stakes, that hasn't really translated to the hospo business. Not yet anyway.
We're still doing it pretty tough, I have to be honest. Like the winter's been pretty hard. We're saying to someone the other day, we're probably running our businesses better than we ever have. We've been in hospo since 2012, something like that. So, had a decent crack at it, and we're running our businesses more efficiently, better than we ever have, and we're making probably less money than we ever have. It's pretty tough, but that's okay. That's we're very lucky in that we don't have a huge amount of debt. We've been in the game for a while, and we can kind of weather the storm. So we're doing fine, but it's hard going for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's lots of different aspects to hospo. Some are doing better than others, but we're heading into the warmer season now. So for us, that means that our food truck's going to be out a lot more. We've got hopefully a nice warm summer of black caps and Canterbury cricket to look forward to. So that's all good for us. And we've got festivals on the horizon. So look, there's definitely some really exciting opportunities out there. We've got a big stadium that's being built down the road that will drive visitor numbers, and hopefully, that we'll all feel the impact of that. But I think it's just general everyday stuff. We're still getting plenty of numbers through the doors, but what we've noticed is that people are just not spending quite as much, And so, for example, instead of coming in and having a meal and a coffee, it might be a coffee and a scone type of thing. Or instead of having, a couple of burgers and chips, and a side, it might just be grabbing a bowl of chips and a couple of drinks to share instead, So it's that kind of thing. Still getting plenty of people through the door, but people are just being a little bit more careful with how they spend their money, I suppose. And to be honest, I'm a consumer as well, and I sort of I catch myself doing the same thing sometimes.
There's a lot being said recently about the tale of two economies, the South Island and the North Island, with the South Island sort of riding a boom in farming. Do you think Christchurch and the Canterbury region will benefit from that?
Oh, look, I'm sure we will. Christchurch itself, we don't have to drive too far in any direction really. We've got farming out north, we've got farming out west, and so those people do travel into town. And if they've got more money in their pockets, then it's going to be good for us. They're more likely to spend their money in the local shops and the local businesses. So yeah, absolutely. If they're doing well, then there's bound to be a knock-on effect, and we're all hopefully going to do a bit better for sure.
Something that has got better, he says, Maori visibility.
Before the earthquake, there wasn't very much of an Indigenous presence in the built environment. When the earthquake came, it was an opportunity to rebuild with a true partnership between the people of Christchurch, but also the Indigenous people of this area.
Especially after the rebuild, I've noticed how well Ngāi Tahu, as mana whenua, how well they have managed to work in partnership with local council, and around things like cultural narratives. We see it with our convention centre, Te Pai, our stadium, Te Kaha, Parakiore, our new sports facility that's almost complete, our big library, Tūranga, Ngāi Tahu and our local government seem to be working quite well together. I'm sure it's not all roses and butterflies behind the scenes, but from someone who's looking from the outside, it certainly looks like they're working well together. So, yeah, it's Ōtautahi is not the flat white city that people often refer to it as, that it once was. We're full of colour, we're full of culture, and I'm really proud to live here.
I will admit that I've always looked down on Christchurch thinking it was full of ponces with a weird obsession about schooling.
They used to say that in Auckland people ask you what you do for a living, and in Wellington they ask you where you live, and in Christchurch they ask you what school you went to. Is that a thing of the past as well?
I don't think so. It's certainly it's the old running joke, eh? Look, I think that's just a reflection of this human nature to want to belong to a tribe of some sort. And in Ōtautahi, we identify often our tribe as being the school that we attended to, or more specifically the high school. It's one of those things, I think it's part of the DNA. I still hear it from time to time. Yeah, it's all good. It's all part of it. But yeah, it's funny when you go outside of Christchurch, no one gives a toss what school you went to. So it's one of those Christchurch things that if you didn't know any different, you wouldn't know about it.
What school did you go to?
Well, I went to Te Whānau Tahi, which is a kura kaupapa. I spent my primary school and intermediate years there. So immersed in te ao Māori, just like my tamariki are at the moment. And then I had a real sort of culture shock, and I moved from what was back then, using the old decile system, a decile 1 or 2 te ao Māori full immersion school, into a decile 10 all boys very traditional school, and that was Christchurch Boys. So it was probably there that I really learned about the whole what school did you go to, because in this city, when you say you went to Christchurch Boys, people, there are other old boys that kind of, they look at you different and they treat you different. And there's that sort of tribal whakapapa, for want of a better word, that we can all sort of relate and connect to each other because of the school that we went to and the hallways that we each walked down. So yeah, I went to Christchurch Boys and I thoroughly enjoyed my time there, as I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Te Whānau Tahi. I'm grateful for both kura and what they taught me.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to hear someone like you talk like this because, as you say, a few decades ago, white flat gardens was, before the earthquakes, that's what people saw in Christchurch, right?
Yeah, and probably a silhouette of the cathedral or something like that. And I guess we still do carry a little bit of that. We're hung up. We're, for some reason or another, very passionate about our broken cathedral in this city.
Christchurch Cathedral was and still is the heart of Christchurch. It was severely damaged, walls had completely collapsed, no one could enter it.
Are we out of danger for it being pulled down? I personally think so. You can't go forward, you can't go back. Help us. What gets me is that, we're going to open the first-class stadium next year to the world media, and at the same time, they're going to take a picture of this and go, is this success? Is this the end of the earthquake era when your number one icon of the city is in ruins?
What is the status of the two big cathedrals in Christchurch? I know the Catholic one's done and dusted, right?
Oh, no, well, look, the Catholic Cathedral they were going to build in town down by the river by the town hall. They've decided to abandon that and go back to where they were. I haven't seen any plans for a building consent or anything like that come in, but their plan is to, talk to the bishop the other day, and their plans are to build one down there. The other one in town, what's happened was they've decided, rather than having a bridge too far and trying to do the whole thing up at once, let's do half of it up, which is a lot more realistic, which means they don't need anywhere near as much money, so they can actually get in and use it, put a false wall up with some glass windows in so people can look into the bit that's damaged, because it doesn't really matter if it takes a decade or two to finish it. At least they're in there, and all the fences around in the square will get moved back. It'll all look good from the front, and we'll get our square back and liven it up.
What's the time span on that?
I think they really want to start kicking into it early next year is what their cunning plan is.
I'm not emotionally attached to it. It's I don't sort of feel any ownership. I don't feel like I have any authority or mana to tell the Anglican Church, what they do with what effectively is their marae. If I was going to put it into a Māori context, I'd be pretty miffed if I had a whole bunch of people who have no whakapapa to my marae trying to tell me what I should do with my marae. It's theirs. They can do what they want. I'm sick of looking at it in the state that it's in. It was a nice building before the earthquake, but it's a bit of an eyesore at the moment. It would be nice if someone just made a decision and we can just accept that decision, either knock it down or rebuild it or build it differently. I don't personally care, but I just want it done because it feels like it's holding that part of the city back a little bit. That's my own personal opinion. When I speak to people around me, I think we all sort of echo the same sorts of thoughts. Just do something, make a decision and own it, and let's move on.
Does it remind people of that awful day, that earthquake day, the second one?
Oh, it probably does. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, right? Because every time you see it, it's a physical reminder of all of that and what the city did look like for a long time after the earthquakes. That's what I mean. There's so many positive things going on around the city. Let's just make a call and move on.
We get a good view from the lovely new library.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, and the lovely new library. Well, it's not so new anymore, Tūranga, but it still looks new. Yeah, it's awesome. That's a great example of something that's pulling people back into the city. A really cool example. There's a great cultural narrative that's woven through that, which I'm not an expert on, so I won't try and tell you what it is because I might butcher it. But you walk into that space and it feels good. It's modern. It probably is what a library should be in 2025. It's bustling with people. You've got a great cafe downstairs. You've got good meeting rooms upstairs. It's used by the community. It's awesome. That's an example of sort of what it can look like when we get it right. But look, I think we've come a long way since then. And if you drive around Ōtautahi and you talk to the people, you look at the faces, and you see how far we've come in the last probably decade or so. We're a much different city these days, and it's quite exciting. We've got some really cool things. I mean, there's so much going for Christchurch. For a start, we are flat, and so getting around is pretty easy. The people who built the roads and arranged the city, created a nice square grid pattern, so it's pretty easy to navigate around Ōtautahi. It's pretty cool. We've got some really exciting precincts going on. We've got an arts precinct, we've got a sporting precinct, we've got CBD there, things that I've already mentioned, like our stadium and Para Kia Ora, their sports facility, that's all happening. And then, like from a leisure point of view, you got the hills. So if you're into outdoor activities, walking, running, mountain biking, you got that all on your doorstep. Couple of hours sort of north to Hanmer Springs, couple of hours in the other direction, you can hit the slopes. I'm not a skier or a snowboarder, but I understand people enjoy it. So yeah, and then we've got a great airport. So if you want to jump on the plane and go to Fiji or fly domestically or internationally, you got all of that. So look, I'm happy here. We've got some pretty deep roots here. My tamariki are happy. My whānau lives here. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I can kind of get anywhere in a quarter of an hour. And I'm often reminded of how lucky I am when I go to other big cities where you hop off the plane and spend the next hour and a half in traffic. That's a reminder that, I've actually got it pretty good here in Ōtautahi.
That's it for today. The Detail is a newsroom production supported by RNZ and New Zealand On Air. This episode was engineered by Phil Benge and produced by Gwen McClure. Thanks to Phil Major and Anton Matthews. I'm Alexia Russell. Ka kite anō.